Welcome, everyone, to the Black and White History Podcast. We're your hosts, Christian.
I'm still not. I'm Jordan.
He's never going to do it right.
No, now it's like a meme, so now I can't do it right.
So that means that you are doing it right.
Well, now I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So now if you do it right, it would actually be doing it wrong.
I think we're going to have
Introception.
We're going to have a war about this.
Yeah. We are going to kind of discuss the founding, the formation, and some of the details of the U.S. Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of dug into it a little bit with George Washington. Everything. Obviously, he's kind of an important piece.
Yeah, he's dead now.
Yeah.
He got a cold.
Yeah. But the Constitution still lives on.
Yes, more or less.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know.
A republic, if you can keep it.
If you can keep it.
Is that Benjamin Franklin?
I think it was Adams.
Okay.
I like to attribute most smart sounding things to Adams. He was a super smart guy. He gets a bad rap.
I feel like he was like
really
a
short.
president you just want to convince yourself is better than he was.
Yeah, it's like, come on, it's John Adams, man. And yeah, so I like the Constitution. The Constitution is cool because I'm a rules guy, and the Constitution is the rules.
Real quick, it was Ben Franklin
Dang it!
who said the republic. I was like, I feel like I had just seen that.
Well, I tried.
So you can't even give that to Adams.
I didn't even say that.
Yeah.
Dang it!
We'll be doing John Adams, I guess, next week.
Yeah, we'll breeze over John
Yeah.
and his son. Quincy.
Yeah. Is that a flyover? I feel like that's like a flyover state.
Yeah.
John Quincy Adams.
John Quincy Adams. He did the.
I feel like
Amistad case.
well, maybe we can do Madison. Well, okay, no, we got to do Madison because we're 1812.
Oh yeah.
Which I realized editing our first episode, if anyone even noticed, I had said that James Monroe was in the Battle of Trenton with George Washington, like in that boat and everything, which was true. But the part we got wrong is we both like thought of James Madison because we're like, oh yeah, well we'll talk about him with the War of 1812 and everything. And then while I was like editing it or uploading it, I was like, I know there's going to be like someone who's going to go, actually.
Well, we can't get something so critically wrong. Oh, that's not critical, but
Right.
but it's pretty wrong. We can't get something so wrong in episode 2, and it's like,
Yeah.
And then there were space aliens, and they dropped down the Constitution, and
Right.
the Lord himself wrote the Declaration of Independence. So but I do love the Constitution. Its rules. It's 10 rules that the government can't do. But before we got the Constitution, we had the Articles of Confederation, which.
Yeah, tell me about that. I'm not actually super up to speed.
Well,
on that side of it.
I'll bring you up to speed. Not great.
Okay.
You're now up to speed. Yeah, the Articles of Confederation. So, okay. The first Constitutional Congress, constitutional document after the war was the Articles of Confederation. And it's basically just.
So was this during the second Congress? So was it written at the same time as the Constitution?
No, it was before.
Oh, okay.
It was before. So the Constitution was 1789, and the Articles of Confederation were before that. So I think just like right after the war, they wrote the Articles of Confederation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 1787.
Yeah.
Not because I have a good memory, but I just happen to have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
it was still post-revolutionary.
Post-revolutionary,
Okay.
pre-Constitution. So the Articles of Confederation were basically just an agreement between states. There wasn't a presidency. There wasn't a Supreme Court. There was just a legislature. And basically the legislature had, I think, it was 1 or 2 representatives from every colony, every state. And they could make treaties and declare war. And that's about it. They could not collect taxes. And that was a major issue because they had just fought a big old war and spent a bunch of money that they didn't have and people owed money to landlords, and people owed money to states, and states owed money to other states, and the colonies owed money to France and other countries.
Well, yeah, I guess it's true in this. I mean, yeah, the idea of post-Revolutionary War, there was nothing.
No.
I mean, they didn't even really have much of a currency.
Nope.
Like, it was
pounds. It was British money.
Okay, yeah, they're still using British currency even. And so
who enforces contracts? What is the legal authority for, like, who tells people to go to jail? Like, because in Great Britain, like, that authority comes from the crown, and the crown has his lackeys, and they have their lackeys, and it's a whole hierarchy, but it's all enforced. Like, that's the enforcement arm. There is no enforcement anywhere. Like, the states enforce their own laws within their own borders. but it's still kind of based off of the British system, which is fine. Fine, that's whatever. But like in between states and as a nation, they couldn't really do anything. And federal income, like federal taxes, were optional, and so the states were like, no, thank you. And so like federal army, like you can't really raise an army because you can't pay them with federal money. You just have a bunch of state militias. Well, they're not under federal control; they're under state control. Shays' Rebellion kind of started because a bunch of people stopped paying taxes and stopped paying debt payments and such, and they're like, we're just not going to pay, and you can't make me, and we just got off a war, so we know how to fight. Do you know how to fight? Go ahead and raise an army. They're like, we can't raise taxes, we can't do anything. And so George Washington like rides down with like 14,000 troops and like puts down Shays' Rebellion. And so it's like, okay, we need a constitution.
Yeah.
The Articles of Confederation, like it was like the baby constitution because they were so afraid of like replacing King George with just a bunch of small King Georges, like right next door to each other. And so like the Articles of Confederation had no teeth intentionally because it's almost like they just had to turn in the assignment. It was like the night before they had to do a whole big science fair project. They're like, here's my science project on gravity, and they just drop a ball. It's like, well, that's technically a constitution, but it's not a good one. It doesn't tell us anything. So they said, okay, get rid of the Articles of Confederation. We're going to do a whole constitution. And so they sit down at the Constitutional Convention.
Well, there's a Continental Congress.
The Continental
It was the second Continental Congress. The first one was for the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
Because I remember that from that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So they get together and they have to have all, like, 9 of the 13 colonies have to agree to ratify this new constitution. But the problem with that is that each individual state has, they use states and colonies and whatever. They have very different interests. So like Virginia has slaves, has a very agrarian, rural kind of vibe to it. And then you have Boston and New York and Philadelphia, and they are really relying on trade and international commerce. And we just pissed off the biggest international trading partner in the world. So they don't want to trade with us, and we owe France a bunch of money. And they're also having their own revolution right now that we kind of sort of kicked off, gave them the idea for. So they're not super ultra pleased with us right now. And we have no money, we have no army, except for the militias. So they get together and they kind of they have to hash out a document that doesn't give people a king, that recognizes states' individual ability to govern themselves, but also ties all the states together in a way that actually is meaningful and enforceable. So it's actually, and so they come up with the Constitution,
right?
Mostly as we know it, but they had to sell it to the individual states. They all had to kind of agree on it, and there were kind of two camps. So there was the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, and the Federalists, Madison and Hamilton, were big Federalists, and they believed in a strong central national government that could print money and do trade and raise taxes and do all that stuff. And then you had the Anti-Federalists, who were just the opposite, like Jefferson said, no, states need to govern themselves because the people in the states know what they need best, and they don't want to have to answer to a big federal government. I don't want someone in New York or Boston or Philadelphia deciding what's best for me in Richmond, Virginia. And both of them kind of make sense.
Right. Well, I see that debate a lot now, with like social issues.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah. And so basically, there's people on both sides, and they write, you've probably heard of the Federalist Papers.
Yeah.
And the Federalist Papers, I think there's like 50 or 60 of them. There's a bunch of them. And they were written anonymously by Madison, John Jay, and I think the third guy.
Was it Adam Smith?
No, I think it might have been Hamilton, Madison, Hamilton, and John Jay. Digging into my AP history, but whatever. So those three guys, they wrote anonymous like essays in papers, like newspapers around the country, to kind of explain to people like why we need a central government and how, yeah, we'll have a strong central government, but we'll make the government the federal government in such a way, and we'll frame the Constitution in such a way that states will have most of the power. The federal government will have only these specific powers, and here's why that's good, so that we can have like a bank and have debt and have credit and make trade and all that good stuff. And long story short, it all works, and they ratify the Constitution, and we have it. And so the Constitution has the three branches of government: the executive, who has the presidency, they're in charge of actually doing the laws; the legislative, which is people elect representatives and senators to go and make laws; and then the judiciary, to interpret the laws that come in and apply specific cases to the laws that exist at the federal level. They can have a standing army. They can print money. They can incur debt and make a bank, like a national bank. They can make treaties. It's like a real government.
Right. Well, I know this took like 4 months.
It took a long time.
And they went to Philadelphia. I think there's 55 men, like all the representatives, and just everyone showing up, and they locked themselves in this room and all agree. The only thing they could all agree on is that they wouldn't talk to the press at all about what they were what they were cooking, basically. Yeah. And they even shut all the windows, or the shutters and everything.
And it was summertime.
It was in the summertime, and so you have like all these men.
That was Independence Hall, wasn't it?
In Philadelphia, yes.
I went there.
Oh, nice.
It's actually a very small building.
Oh, really?
It's not big. It's really funny because it's like an old building, kind of like, it's in the middle of Philadelphia, so there's like big buildings around it, and like busy roads and stuff. And it's just like this little square. It's like the Up House, like in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like big skyscrapers.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a very small, like, I had to turn sideways to walk through doors.
Wow.
Like, it's very narrow. It's not a big place. And Philadelphia is hot in the summer. It's really hot and humid. It's nasty.
And so, yeah, I mean, I'll check a PragerU video about the temperatures outside weren't even as hot as the temperatures inside, just based on like how much they were all just like fighting and arguing. And
everyone's wearing wigs.
Right,
and everyone's in wool coats, just sweating. No one's taking baths.
Yeah.
It's nasty. There's horses pooping outside. And it's just, it took a lot of work. Like, yeah, you're indoors and you're not fighting war, but like, hey man, that's hard work. It really is hard work. And there's no electricity. There's no phones. There's no nothing. If you want to like talk to the people from your state to figure out like what should we do? We gotta ride all the way to Rhode Island and then come back. And like, it's a big to do. It's a big hoopla. And so the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, like, it was a bitter fight. Like, if this is going to be the Constitution, like, we're not going to give up these states' rights things. And the Federalists are like, well, we can't do a government without a strong central, like, an executive or a government that does banking and currency. And so they come up with the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And the Bill of Rights is really just a limitation on what the government cannot do. Basically, the way that the framers of the Constitution viewed it is like, think of a person. That person is free, is born free. Like, God created that person, and that person has the freedom to do whatever they want. If they want to do river dance, they can do that. If they want to build a house with a fence, they can do that. If they want to paint that fence pink, they can do that. Like, the government, no one can tell that person what they can and can't do, unless they're black or a woman. But other than that...
We'll get more into that.
We'll get into that. But yeah, like, the baseline is like, people are free to do whatever they want to. They're free to create governments and create their own rules and live their own life. And that's just like the baseline of it. And so they outline the first 10 things, some of which are like odd to us, like
the third one.
Like, and no quartering soldiers. It's like, that seems personal. Well, yeah, because they just fought a revolution where, like,
that was the law. They had to, without their consent.
Yeah, like, you're feeding and housing these soldiers that you don't like in your house.
Yeah.
It'd be like if a bunch of Canadians came to your house. They're like, oh, we're eating all your maple syrup and poutine. Like, I don't even have poutine. I don't know what that is. This is America. And then they broke your window and then they didn't pay for it. So, like, the First Amendment, free speech. Like, you can say what you want. You can criticize the government. You can protest the government, and the government can't stop you from doing that. The Second Amendment, you can have guns. The government can't take your guns unless you commit a crime or and you should have the same kind of guns that the government has, because the whole point of that is so that we can overthrow the government if we want to, and they can't make you do bad things against your will. And the government can't send its soldiers to live with you, and then the government can't just come into your house, the Fourth Amendment. They can't just come into your house and steal your papers and go through your stuff. The Fifth Amendment, you can't be forced to testify against yourself in court. You can't be made to give statements that would incriminate you. And then there's a bunch of other amendments. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of it is. I mean, it really is. Yeah, the first, second, and fifth are really the only ones that still really matter
The Fourth,
in terms of
the Fourth Amendment.
or I guess in the fourth too, sure. But like, I remember, the third one, and then like there's a couple of the. I remember just being like,
The sixth is like a speedy public trial. You can't. I think double jeopardy. You can't be tried twice for the same crime.
Okay, right, yeah. I guess there's
Yeah.
They're just not things we really like run into
No.
very often.
The important one is the 10th Amendment, because it's like the ultimate like catch-all of all powers not expressly given to the federal government in the Constitution are given to the states, and by extension of the states, the people themselves. Mm-hmm. So like these are the things specifically that the government can't do. And anything that we forgot that we didn't put in there, that belongs to the states. It's not the federal government. Mm-hmm. And so that was enough to give the anti-federalists like, all right, fine. We're looking at the Bill of Rights.
This whole thing really is just like a matter of compromises.
Yeah.
That's like they all just had to compromise. Like it didn't matter what,
all of it.
In order for it to work. No one really got what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Power's not given to the federal government. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the enumeration clause. So, and then also the Ninth Amendment, you have rights that just because it's not in the Constitution doesn't mean that you don't have that right.
Right. Okay.
So like, you don't have the right to paint your fence pink because it's not in the Constitution. Well, actually, because it's not in the Constitution, that means I am, unless it's specifically enumerated, specifically given to a person or an entity within the Constitution. It belongs to the people. Mm-hmm. That's their goal, which is actually most things. Pretty much the only thing people can't do is like make their own laws and like print their own currency. Mm-hmm. That's about it. Unlike make treaties, they can't. Like I can't make a treaty with North Korea on behalf of the United States. Right. I tried. They said no.
Return to sender.
Yeah. Kim Jong-il, North Korea. I didn't know his address, so I put a couple stamps on there. It was a postage thing.
Yeah. So basically, they have this whole thing. I'm curious. Like, so it's interesting, just both sides, because sometimes you can just look at this thing from afar and be like, it seems like both, as far divided they were. Mm-hmm. There's some things that were just like so like both sides like agreed in like the power of states and stuff like that, and so it was just like a couple degrees off on one side. It was just like, no, we're gonna sit here for like 4 months and try to figure, and then obviously there are other stuff too, like the 3/5. Should we just get to the 3/5?
Yeah, we can talk about the 3/5 compromise. That's fine.
When I first learned about the 3/5 compromise, my history teacher in 8th grade, who was very smart, and I really liked him as a teacher. I remember him explaining it, and he explained it in a way that was like, I don't know why they did this. It doesn't make any sense to me, but they just picked this number, and we just have to go with it. Mm-hmm. And I remember just like, oh, okay. Like, for so much of my life, I just never really understood like why 3/5. Mm-hmm. Why not all? Why not none? Why was it just like off the middle? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think I get it now in terms of the North and the South. With the South wanted them. It's interesting because obviously from like today's standards, we would look at that and be like, oh, it should just be 5/5. It should just be like 1. Yeah. But that's actually like what the slave states wanted, and the North states actually just didn't want it to count at all, even though they were again anti-slavery and everything. You want to?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, about the 3/5 compromise, I've heard a lot of people in the past like 3 to 5 years say, oh, the 3/5 compromise, they thought black people were 3/5 of a person. That's not what that meant.
Right, yeah.
No, they thought they were whole people. They just didn't want to count all of them. And the reason they didn't want to count all of them is, like you said, like, I don't know the number. I think it's like 200,000 slaves or something in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
There like a lot of slaves, and like in Boston or Massachusetts there was like 1,800, something like that. So just from like a voting standpoint. Okay, so I have to get back into the Constitution. So the House of Representatives, it is, you get the number of representatives based on your state's population. So like individual districts. So if your state has 50,000 people, okay, you get 5 representatives. If my state has 250,000 people, I get 25 representatives. Mm-hmm. So that means I'll always win.
Yeah.
Always. Now the counterbalance is the Senate, because you get 2 senators and I get 2 senators. But that also means when we're electing the president with the Electoral College, that is, it's based off of population and senators. So like I'll just always have more electoral votes in my state, which means that you can vote for the president and I can vote for the president and I'll always win because I have way more people than you do.
Right, yeah.
Because I have slaves, so I stole the extra votes. That's fine. We won't get into how that applies in modern times, but fine. So the 3/5 compromise was really to say, okay, we're not going to say you get no representation with them, but we're not going to give you 100% representation with them. So we'll give you 3 out of 5. Mm-hmm. That's the 3/5 compromise. It recognizes that the South is a big economic driver for the country, and that there's a lot of people there, and it reinforces the South's standing in the nation, but it doesn't give them enough to completely overwhelm the northern states or the states that don't have the population because of slavery. That's what it was for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's interesting because with the Constitution was kind of also written just with the idea that slavery would just fade out over time.
Yeah,
and everything, and which again, that's like they already had that in mind mm-hmm. right at the beginning of the country and everything.
Yeah, Jefferson, like one of Jefferson's first things that he did in the Virginia House of Burgess, like their state Congress, was to abolish slavery, and like. They said absolutely not, but like he tried to do it in Virginia, in his home state, because he knew intellectually like this is not good, this is hypocritical. If everyone's free, then everyone's free. Then if they're not, then they're not. And honestly, a lot of that's motivated by the Bible. Like all men are equal.
Well, yeah. So with that, because of course that's in the Declaration of Independence, mm-hmm. but whenever in the Constitution. It talks about, because obviously it's like, well, voting rights are not only for men, but men who own property. Mm-hmm. And then they would always talk about, it would never say, like, the word slave isn't mentioned in the Constitution. It's just all other people, or it's all these like, kind of nuanced kind of things.
They did call them people.
Sure, okay,
they are
that's
people.
Fair.
They are not slaves. And they did make sure to say, like, there's not, my last reading of the Constitution has been a while, but like, there's not anything that says, like, only men or only white people.
Right, they left
it's just people.
Yeah.
It's like all people. Now, the quibbling was whether slaves were actually persons, mm-hmm. like legal entities, legal persons, or if they were property that could be bought and sold like that. We had a whole war about that. Same thing with women. Like, were they individual entities and people, or were they like, well, when you're married, now you're one with your husband, and your husband is the legal entity that represents both of you, or if you're unmarried, your father. Like, mm-hmm. That's how it was. Like, that's how it has been throughout the entirety of human. Like, that's how it was. We're not saying it's right. That's just how it was. And so the document reflects that, and was amended to reflect, like, also we mean all people of all races and all, like, this is what we mean. Like, that's, mm-hmm. They added to it. They further clarified what they meant by person to be covered with these rights and all this stuff under the Constitution.
Okay. Yeah. I can't imagine that even 4 months doesn't seem like that long with how much they were to figure all this out.
And like you said, they were pretty. Most people were pretty close on most things. It was just the things that they stuck on. They stuck really, really hard on, and it makes sense. Like the Federalists knew, like the Articles of Confederation failed because we could not raise taxes, and if we can't raise taxes, we don't have a federal government strong enough to enforce federal law and collect taxes. This is the thing about laws. All laws are enforced at the end of a gun. All of them. If you owe me taxes, or if you owe me money, like individual people, and you don't pay me, I go to the court. The court says you pay. You say no. Okay, now we're going to suspend your license. Now we're going to garnish your wages. We're going to do all that stuff. If you still say no, we're going to send officers to your house to arrest you. If you say no, they'll fight you. If you keep fighting them, they'll shoot you. Like the progression of not following a law is always like some kind of force against you. From a national standpoint, we need to tell these states, Rhode Island, you're going to pay us taxes or we're going to fight you. Okay. So like they needed to agree to submit some of their own rights and authority as states to the larger federal government and say, okay, we're going to give you this money. We're going to give you the right to take this money from us. And that was really hard because the whole reason they fought this whole war was because someone was taking their money and doing stuff with it that they didn't feel like they had adequate representation with.
Right.
The difference is like the Bill of Rights. Okay, these are all the things that you can do that we can't take away from you. This is something that King George never gave you. These are all the things that we can't do. The king had unilateral authority. He could do whatever he wanted to. There's no charter that says, and the king can't really do this. No, the king can do what he wants.
Well, and even just in the sense of like purposely leaving the door open, or like if we want to add more amendments, just get the Senate 3/4 or 2/3 of the it's 2/3 to agree on whatever amendment. I mean, I don't know when another amendment would even be passed today.
I think the last one was like 100 years ago, isn't it?
There was there was one right after like Nixon wasn't the thing with like General Gerald Ford assuming the office.
I don't know. The last one I can think of is the 21st Amendment.
I think there's 25. How many amendments are there? Because the 25th is also if the president, it's basically Joe Biden, kick him out.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember all of that being a big thing.
In 1965. And
the last one was 1992.
No, they can't vote themselves a pay raise that they will benefit from. They have to do it like in effect of the next election. So like if the election's in 24, then I can't say, okay, in 2026, this office gets a pay raise. It has to be in 2029 so that I can't benefit from my own authority of making laws to benefit myself. Now, if I win, then I get the pay. But if I lose, whoever wins gets that pay. So it's vaguely fair, except the power of the incumbency means that I will very likely win. But, yeah.
Well, it's been, I mean, there was kind of a lot of amendments for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, even just with slavery, I mean, even the 13th, but there were still like the 14th and the 15th Amendment with, was one of those their right to vote?
That was the 19th.
Oh, okay. But just how quickly a lot of stuff was like having to be added and everything. And so
you can kind of, it's interesting to see like the amendments and like how they reflect.
Oh, the 15th, the racial equity voting.
Okay. So the 15th was.
And that was 1870. So it was only 5 years after the Civil War. So we had only a 5-year period.
You can see like the cultural issues that came up. Like these things are so important because it's so difficult to amend the Constitution. These things are so important that we have to do them. We kind of, as a nation, decide we're going to change the Constitution. So like, what are the big things that have come up? Like, okay, at first it was speech and guns and privacy and everyone gets rights except for black people. And then the next thing was, okay, now black people get rights. And then, okay, now women get rights. And then no one can have alcohol. Okay, we can have alcohol again.
Right, yeah.
And then...
Is that the only amendment that was like repealed?
Yeah, it was the 18th Amendment was prohibition, and then the 21st Amendment was repealing, I think.
Doing it.
Do a live fact check.
Repeal 21st was a repeal. Okay.
Yeah, and then that's how I remember it, because at 18 you want to drink, but you can't. So you're 21.
Yeah.
And now we can drink when you're 21.
Yeah. That's funny.
That's just how I remember it. It always stuck in my head. But like, then we get into like very interesting and esoteric things of like, okay, what happens if the president can't serve? Like that question apparently had not come up until the 60s.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure the question had come up, but like,
right. Well, I mean, yeah,
it's kind of like an unofficial thing where like, I guess it's you.
It could have.
Do we have another election? I don't know.
If it was more publicly known for both Woodrow Wilson and FDR, that 100% would have come up. But that wasn't even in effect yet. But I mean, Woodrow Wilson like had a stroke, and they just like kept him in a room, and his wife was basically just like, "Oh, okay, I'll give him the stuff to sign," and then okay, yep, he signed it. Like, that's weird. No one saw him sign it, but you're handing me the, it's like
Mrs. Wilson was our first female president.
right, yeah, and then obviously FDR with polio and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'll at least give FDR credit that like mentally, he was fine, just physically, but with Woodrow Wilson, it was like he was just gone. Like they needed to have him step down, and but I guess there was I don't know if it would have mattered anyway. They kind of just hid him in a room for the last couple of years he was president. But,
Yeah, like Joe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then more recently.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, not to get off the topic too far, but it's just like, I can understand, because the president of the United States is, and kind of has always been, like a very prolific figure that people, like, we're kind of a crazy people. Like, Americans are kind of weird. Not kind of weird, we're pretty weird. We're going to make our own country. It's going to have wild laws, and we're going to do stuff different. We're going to have a bunch of countries all mashed together, but we're not countries, we're states. We're all very different. We all have our own laws, but we all have the same laws. And like the president of the United States, he's not a king, but we kind of treat him like one. And he's not a celebrity, but we definitely treat him like a celebrity. We don't call him like the emperor or anything. He's just like a president. He sort of presides over the thing, but he has tremendous power. And like, it's just a bunch of craziness. And everyone's kind of watching America and watching what we do. And so like, if the president of the United States is like incapacitated or something, it makes us look bad. Mm-hmm. It makes us look really weak. And that's different from other nations, because like think of all like the kings of different countries in the past were like Mad King George or King Henry, or pick your whatever. And it's just sort of like, well, we can't say anything bad about him or they'll kill us.
Right.
But now it's like, oh, we can talk bad about our president. Nothing will happen to us. It's in our Constitution. And so like, but we need to have a national identity and like a national street cred within our own country and internationally. So we can't just like have an old decrepit president who's like, I don't know, do whatever. It like makes us look bad. It gives the people a lack of faith in their government.
Right.
Like, we're not being led by someone. And that gives other countries who look at us for leadership and for stability, like their own people don't believe in what's going on. Like, they have no power. So like, it opens the door to a lot of bad stuff. Like, we can't have a president who's not with it.
Well, especially with being like the most powerful country in the world.
We have like 5,000 nuclear weapons. Yeah. Like, we need to be on top of it. Like, whether or not, and back to Washington, like no foreign entanglements, like very isolationist. Like, I don't think we should be world police.
Yeah.
But it's also like, if you're the biggest bodybuilder on the beach and like there's a bully, everyone's looking at you to handle the bully. Like, whether you want to or not, everyone's looking at us to solve the big problems. Whether we should or how we do it, like, that's a question. Like, those are questions, and I don't pretend to know the answers, but like, the truth of it is, everyone looks at America to see, well, what are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is, we don't know, the dude in charge of us can't think right, I mean, that's not good. It makes everyone feel unsafe. But if you have someone like a Washington or like someone who is strong and sound of mind and principled and has like, you may not agree with what he's going to do, but he's definitely in charge and definitely making decisions. Like, that's what we're doing. It sets everyone kind of at ease. It's like having the father in the house. Like, okay, daddy's home. There's no more messing around. Okay. Now, you have a good dad, but it's important. America is really important. How we act is really important. It's not fair. No one chose us to do it. No one elected us to do it. But we are like the biggest bodybuilder on the beach. Like, people look to us to solve problems. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of our problems, like internationally, are that we kind of have figured out that people look to us, and instead of being humble about it and not flexing on people, we're just sort of like, well, we're going to do what we want. What are you going to do? Stop us? It's like, don't be like that. That's not the right way to be.
Yeah.
That's not how Papa Washington would have wanted you to act. Come on.
Well,
remember Papa Washington?
Yeah, Papa Washington. Wrap it up there.
Just think of him in his wig in his old chair. Yeah. I wouldn't know foreign entanglements.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good spot to end it. Yeah, it's crazy how much this document, even just the first 10 Bill of Rights, how far it's gotten us this point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I will make another note about the Constitution. Okay, the framers did not know about the internet. They didn't know about they did actually know about machine guns. They had the Gatling gun. They had all that stuff. They didn't know about like Zoom calls or stealth bombers or anything like. They didn't know what the future was going to hold. They made the Constitution amendable. So if it were such a national, there was a national consensus about it, that 2/3 of the entire country, the vast majority of the country, agreed that we need to change the fundamental rules in some way, we can do that. Unless and until we do that, I don't know what to, they could not have predicted everything that we have now. But they gave us a way to, once we got to whatever point that was, that we could change the Constitution to make it match the world we lived in now.
mm-hmm.
So people would say, no, the originalists are hey, how the Constitution was written, that's what they meant and nothing else. Well, if that's true, then they wouldn't have allowed us to amend it. And then there's the living document theory is hey, the Constitution's designed to change and it's a fluid document. You can interpret it how you want. It's no, the document was written how it was written and they meant what they said. But if you fundamentally disagree with it or think it needs to be changed, there's a mechanism by which it can be changed. So it's both.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it again, so unique. We can change it. We just have to get everyone on board. So unless everyone's on board with it, then you have to leave it alone.
Yeah,
you can't change the rules.
I mean,
of the game.
that's why it's so hard to add an amendment. I mean, getting 2/3 of a vote.
Mm-hmm.
Senate is the Senate. Yeah. To that even happen is
mm-hmm.
you get 51%, of a vote. That's a total touchdown.
Yeah.
So it has to be so dire, so serious.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my gosh, we have to do this right now, and for that to even be a possibility.
Yeah. And we've done it. We've done it
right
25 times.
Yeah.
So it's, or I guess technically 15. The first 10 were kind of baked in.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then we get 17 times. So
it's funny that we have an amendment and then we have another amendment, repealing the amendment. It's why don't we just erase?
No, you got to keep track.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Anyway, I think that's a good spot to end it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll continue with.
What are we going to talk about next time?
John Adams. Unless you want to skip over.
We can't skip over John.
Yeah,
he's a good old chap.
Yeah.
He did his best.
We'll do a shorter episode with him. I mean, he only had one term, so
he's a nerd.
Yeah, he was kind of a nerd.
He's a super nerd.
Well, we can talk about the John Adams HBO show that I had just watched recently.
I'm going to watch that again.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to watch it again.
Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, and everything.
Don't do that. Don't subscribe.
Yeah.
Just watch it for free. Well, it is free.
Yeah.
Don't even.
This is
don't
Patreon.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Subscribe if you want to. Do what he says.
There's not even ad revenue for this, so
we're not putting ads on these. Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah. That'll be the John Adams episode. By that point, we'll get a bunch.
Yeah, we'll be
people.
up there.
Yeah,
we'll be in the top 10. Take that, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.